Nathan Rhodes drummed his fingers against the steering wheel, staring at the red brick building that housed one of his most troubled restaurants. The neon sign flickered inconsistently. Harvest Table, a detail that would have been reported and fixed within hours at any properly functioning location. 15 years ago, he'd opened his first Harvest Table with nothing but student loans and a dream of creating restaurants where both customers and employees felt like family. Now, with 38 locations across the country, Nathan had achieved more success than he'd ever imagined. But something had gone terribly wrong at this particular branch. 62% staff turnover in 6 months, he muttered, recalling the disturbing statistics. And a 20% drop in repeat customers. The corporate troubleshooters he'd sent had returned with nothing but surface-level explanations. Yet Nathan's instincts screamed that something deeper was festering. When the third manager in a row had quit without notice, he knew he had to see for himself. He adjusted the wire-rimmed glasses he never actually needed and ran a hand over his newly grown beard. His transformation from recognizable CEO to anonymous middle-aged traveler had taken weeks of preparation. Even his own mother wouldn't recognize him. Inside, the hostess greeted him with rehearsed enthusiasm. As she led him through the dining room, he catalogued every detail. The restaurant was busy, but not packed, unusual for a Thursday evening. The music was slightly too loud. Several tables had empty glasses that hadn't been cleared. Several minutes passed before a woman in her early 30s approached his table. Her Harvest Table uniform was impeccable, but the dark circles under her eyes told a different story. "Hi there. Welcome to Harvest Table. I'm Elena and I'll be taking care of you tonight." Her smile was practiced but genuine. "Can I start you with something to drink?" "Just water and maybe your house red wine, please," Nathan replied, studying her. Elena was exactly the type of employee he typically valued most. When she returned with his wine, Nathan took a deliberate sip. "This is nice. I wasn't sure what to expect. It's my first time at a Harvest Table." "Really? They're all over these days. The founder had a great vision when he started out." Something flickered across her face. Disappointment, perhaps regret. "You sound like you've been with the company a while." Nathan probed gently. 5 years this August. Started at the downtown location before transferring here when it opened." "Sounds like you enjoy it." Her smile faltered slightly. Elena glanced around as if checking who might be listening, then leaned in. "It used to be different. The original locations, they were really something special. Great place to work, great place to eat." "And now?" Nathan asked, his heart already sinking. Elena straightened up, professional mask sliding back into place. "Ready to order, or do you need a few more minutes?" Throughout the meal, Nathan carefully built rapport with Elena. As she delivered his dessert, Nathan decided to test the waters. "You know, I'm actually considering applying for a job here. I'm getting tired of all the travel in my current position, and this seems like a nice place. Good environment, friendly staff." Something flashed in Elena's eyes, alarm, concern, perhaps even a flicker of protective instinct toward a stranger. She hesitated, glancing around before setting down the dessert fork. "Look," she said quietly, "you seem like a decent guy. If you're serious about switching careers, there are better options than here." "Oh." The ads online made it sound like a great opportunity. Good benefits, advancement potential. Elena's laugh held no humor. "That's what they told all of us." She lowered her voice even further. "This place is a trap. You think you'll get ahead, but you never do." Nathan felt his blood run cold. The naked honesty in her exhausted eyes told him everything he needed to know. "I appreciate your honesty," he managed to say. "I shouldn't have said anything," Elena replied, suddenly looking nervous. "Forget I mentioned it." Nathan returned to Harvest Table the following evening, requesting Elena's section again. As he entered, he immediately noticed a manager with a perpetual scowl watching servers like a hawk, employees flinching when he approached. "Back so soon?" Elena asked with genuine surprise. "So I've been thinking about what you said yesterday," Nathan ventured when Elena brought his entree. "About this place being a trap." Alarm flashed across her face. I shouldn't have said that. Please forget it. Actually, I'm curious. I'm considering applying here, remember? I'd appreciate knowing what I might be getting into. Elena hesitated, then glanced at her watch. My break is in 15 minutes. If you're really interested, I could use some fresh air. Exactly 17 minutes later, Nathan found Elena sitting on a bench behind the restaurant. I only have 10 minutes, she said. And I'm risking my job talking to you. I appreciate it. So, what's really happening here? Elena sighed deeply. It's a perfectly designed system to extract as much work for as little compensation as possible. They cap everyone at 29 hours weekly, just below the threshold for benefits, but they expect 35 hours of work compressed into those 29 paid hours. And the tips? That's the most brilliant part of the scam. They've created a pool system where all tips are supposedly divided equally at month's end. Except there's always some excuse why the pool is smaller than expected. Administrative fees, breakage compensation, performance adjustments. Is that legal? Technically, they give us just enough to avoid lawsuits. Maybe 20% of what customers actually leave. The rest vanishes. Why do people stay? Why does anyone stay in a bad situation? Most of us have responsibilities, children, aging parents, medical bills. And they dangle just enough false hope to keep us tethered. Quarterly bonuses that never materialize, promises of management training that get delayed indefinitely. She checked her watch. I've got to get back. But here's the real trap. They've created a culture where we blame ourselves, where we think if we just work harder, smile brighter, move faster, we'll finally get what was promised. And by the time you realize it's never going to happen, you're too exhausted to start over somewhere else. That's horrifying. Nathan managed, genuine emotion overwhelming his disguise. Elena studied him. You're different from our usual customers. What did you say you do again? I'm a writer, Nathan improvised. Traveling, gathering stories. Something sparked in Elena's tired eyes. A writer with a platform. Could you maybe tell our story? Not just mine. All of us. People should know what's happening behind the smiles that serve their food. Elena's phone alarm buzzed. Break's over. I have to go. Think about it, okay? Someone needs to expose places like this. 3 days later, Nathan sat in his hotel room surrounded by notes, and a map marking all 15 Harvest Table locations in the region. He'd spent those days visiting 4 more restaurants under different guises. At each one, he'd uncovered the same poisonous patterns. Nathan's phone buzzed. A text from Marlene Jenkins, his longtime executive assistant, and the only person who knew about his undercover operation. Call secure line ASAP. 2 minutes later, Marlene's familiar voice filled the room via speakerphone. I found something. Tell me. I did what you asked? Reviewed all the financial reports from the regional office. You were right. There's a shadow system. The regional manager for all 15 locations, Rick Sanders, has been running what looks like 2 sets of books. The official numbers that corporate sees and the actual money flow. And he didn't do it alone. He's working with Paylex, the outsourced payroll company handling that region. How much money are we talking about? Based on my calculations of just tips and hourly wage manipulation, at least $6 million over the past 18 months, and that's conservative. $6 million stolen from my employees, Nathan said, his voice dangerously quiet. Where's it going? Offshore accounts mostly. I'm still tracing it, but Rick's lifestyle has certainly improved. New vacation home in Aspen. Boat. The complaint system. Why didn't we catch this sooner? Remember how we set up that direct employee feedback line? All complaints are supposed to go straight to HR at corporate. Let me guess, they never arrived. Worse, they were received, logged, and marked as resolved without ever being investigated. Someone at corporate is helping Rick. Who? I don't know yet. I need more time. How far does this go, Marlene? Is it just this region? Her silence answered before her words did. I'm finding similar patterns in 2 other regions. Different payroll companies, but identical methods. It's not just one bad regional manager. It's a network. After the call, Nathan returned to Harvey's table for dinner again. Elena, if you had proof that something illegal was happening here, would you be willing to speak up? Her smile vanished. That's dangerous talk. What if you weren't alone? What if others stood with you? Elena glanced around the restaurant. For them, maybe. But proof is the problem. Everything's designed so nothing can be traced. What if someone helped you gather that proof? Elena studied him with new suspicion. Who are you really? Before Nathan could answer, a commotion erupted near the kitchen. Rick Sanders, the regional manager, had arrived for a surprise inspection. The entire atmosphere of the restaurant instantly transformed, staff moving at frantic speed, fear evident in every hurried step. That's him, Elena whispered, turning away. The man who runs the trap. As she hurried away, Nathan sat quietly, finally face to face with the architect of his employees' misery. The floor manager loomed over Nathan's table. Mr. Miller, is it? I understand you've been asking our staff some unusual questions. Nathan maintained his disguise perfectly. Just making conversation. Your waitress, Elena, right, has been providing excellent service. Yes, well, we pride ourselves on service here. But we also value our employees' focus. Extensive personal conversations can be distracting. Nathan finished his dinner and exited. But instead of leaving, he circled to his rental car in the far corner of the parking lot and waited. 2 hours later, as the restaurant closed, Elena was among the last to leave. Nathan flashed his headlights once. She hesitated, then approached cautiously. You shouldn't be here, she said through his cracked window. I know. Get in. 5 minutes. Once inside, Elena turned to him. They questioned me for half an hour about you. What are you really doing? Gathering evidence, Nathan said simply, abandoning pretense. Elena, I believe you and your coworkers are victims of systematic wage theft and fraud. I want to help, but I need insiders. He handed her a burner phone. I need documentation. Photos of tip records versus payouts. Screenshots of schedules showing how hours are manipulated. Copies of promised bonuses versus actual compensation. Elena stared at the phone. They'll fire anyone caught doing this. Be careful. Be methodical, and you won't be alone. Nathan handed her a sealed envelope. Inside is a list of trusted employees from the internal auditor. People at other locations already helping us. Why me? Because you cared enough to warn a stranger away from the trap. And because you have the courage many lack. Over the next 2 weeks, Nathan orchestrated a silent resistance movement. The burner phones became a network of whispered truth. Elena proved remarkably effective, recruiting 5 other employees at her location who began collecting evidence. Similar cells formed at 12 other restaurants. Documentation poured in. He's getting nervous, Sophia reported during their nightly conference call. Rick sent 3 urgent emails today about payment system glitches. Good. Keep the pressure on, but make every obstruction look like technical problems. The documentation from employees is damning, Marlene added. We've confirmed fraud totaling nearly 8 million now. What about Elena? Is she safe? So far, but Rick's definitely suspicious. He's installed cameras in employee break areas and started random bag searches. The next evening, Nathan returned to the original location. Dangerous for you to be here, Elena whispered while serving his appetizer. I had to check on you. Rick's getting desperate. He's called 3 staff meetings this week about loyalty and outside troublemakers. We're almost ready to move. Just a few more days. There are rumors corporate visitors are coming next Tuesday, Elena whispered. Rick's panicking. Nathan nodded slightly. Tuesday it is. That night, Nathan finally shed his disguise. He trimmed his beard to his familiar neat corporate style and laid out his best suit. Time to reclaim my company, he said to his reflection, and free my people. His phone buzzed with an urgent message from Sophia. Warning: Rick asking questions about Elena. Her computer access revoked. Possible termination tomorrow. Elena arrived for her shift the next morning with a knot of dread in her stomach. The hostess gave her a warning look. Rick's here early looking for you. She barely made it to the locker room when the floor manager appeared. Rick wants you in the office now. Rick Sanders sat behind the manager's desk. Elena, 5 years with the company. Always reliable until recently. He slid a printout across the desk. Your system login accessing payroll records at odd hours, pulling historical tip data. We monitor everything, Elena. Her mouth went dry. And taking photos of the schedule, collecting coworkers' pay stubs. We know someone's been feeding information to outside parties. Your termination paperwork is already processed. Security will escort you out. A knock at the office door interrupted them. The hostess poked her head in, looking flustered. Sir, I'm sorry, but there's a situation. Corporate visitors just arrived. They're insisting on an all-staff meeting immediately. Rick's face paled slightly. That's scheduled for next week. They're saying it's urgent. Everyone's already gathering in the main dining room. We'll finish this later, Rick told Elena. Stay here. As soon as he left, Elena pulled out the burner phone. One new message. Join the meeting. Sit front row. Trust me. The main dining room had been hastily rearranged. Staff gathered nervously. At the front stood 3 people in expensive suits, their backs to the room. Elena slipped into the front row, heart pounding. Rick stood nearby, attempting to look composed. Rick Sanders, he said smoothly, extending his hand to the man whose back was still turned. We weren't expecting you until next week, but of course, we're delighted. The man turned, and Rick's words died in his throat. Nathan Rhodes, founder and CEO of Harvest Table Restaurants, smiled coldly at his regional manager's shock. Surprise inspection. Or perhaps I should call it what it really is, a reckoning. A murmur ran through the assembled staff. Elena froze in her seat, staring at the familiar face now stripped of its disguise. Mr. Miller, she whispered. Nathan's eyes found hers briefly before returning to Rick. For those who don't know me, I'm Nathan Rhodes. I founded this company 15 years ago with one simple mission: to create restaurants where both customers and employees were treated like family. 3 weeks ago I heard something that disturbed me deeply. A trusted employee told a guest that this restaurant, my restaurant, was a trap. So I decided to see for myself. Nathan gestured to Marlene and Sophia, who opened laptops connected to the restaurant's display screens. What I discovered was theft on a massive scale. Not of silverware or food or money from the register, but something far more valuable. The theft of dignity, of fair compensation, of respect. The screens filled with spreadsheets, photographs, and charts detailing the fraud. Staff gasped as they recognized their own schedules, tip records, and the corresponding falsified payouts. $8.3 million. That's how much has been stolen from the employees of this region over the past 18 months through manipulated hours, diverted tips, and phantom bonuses. Rick lunged toward the door, but 2 security officers blocked his path. Police are already processing warrants for financial crimes. And I've personally authorized full back payment of every dollar stolen, with interest, to every affected employee. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. Elena sat stunned, tears streaming down her face. Nathan raised his hands for quiet. This ends today. Not just the theft, but the culture of fear that allowed it to happen. He walked to Elena's chair and extended his hand. This woman and dozens like her across our locations risked their livelihoods to expose the truth. While I failed to protect you as your founder, they showed the courage I should have demonstrated long ago. Elena hesitantly took his hand and stood beside him. Starting today, Elena will lead a new employee advocacy division with direct report to me. No complaint will ever be buried again. No voice silenced. The trap is broken. As police officers entered and led Rick away in handcuffs, Nathan turned to Elena. I'm sorry I deceived you. But your honesty, your courage when you thought I was just a stranger, you saved this company's soul. Elena, still processing the revelation, could only ask one question. Why did you choose to listen? Because, Nathan replied, his voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly silent room. Real leaders never forget that without their people, they have nothing. 6 months later, Elena stood in the center of the completely renovated Harvest Table restaurant, directing staff as they prepared for the grand reopening. The physical changes were impressive, but the real transformation lay in what couldn't be seen. New pay stubs are in, called Jessie, the bartender who'd been rehired immediately after Rick's removal. She waved a stack of envelopes. Staff gathered eagerly. Each envelope contained not just a paycheck, but a detailed breakdown of hours worked, tips received, and a QR code linking to the restaurant's new public accountability dashboard. Still can't believe we get health insurance at 20 hours now, said Miguel from the kitchen. Elena smiled, remembering the company-wide policy overhaul Nathan had implemented: minimum hours for benefits reduced, tip transparency mandated, monthly open forums where any employee could address management directly, and most revolutionary, a profit-sharing program that gave every employee a stake in their restaurant's success. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. Still on for 7? Nathan had made it a point to visit each location regularly, not as the intimidating CEO dropping in for inspection, but as a working partner. He'd spend shifts washing dishes, bussing tables, or cooking on the line. The investigation had eventually uncovered fraud at 23 of the 38 Harvest Table locations. 11 managers and 3 corporate executives had faced criminal charges. The financial cost had been staggering, over $20 million in stolen wages repaid, plus additional compensation. Elena! Called a voice from the entrance. Sophia Chin hurried in with her tablet. The national numbers just came in. You're going to want to see this. Elena scanned the report and caught her breath. For the first time since the scandal broke, overall company revenue had not only stabilized, but grown by 12%. Employee turnover had plummeted from 62% to just 8% quarterly, and customer satisfaction scores had reached all-time highs. It's working, Elena whispered. Proving what some of us always knew, Sophia replied. Treating people well isn't just morally right. It's good business. That evening, the restaurant reopened with a private event for employees and their families. Children raced between tables. Parents who had once been too exhausted to attend school functions now laughed together. Nathan arrived without fanfare, casually dressed and carrying his young daughter on his shoulders. He greeted staff by name, remembering details about their lives. As dinner wound down, he clinked his glass for attention. I won't make a long speech, but I want to share something important. 6 months ago, this company lost its way. We forgot that restaurants aren't buildings or brands or balance sheets. They're people. He gestured around the room. The true measure of our success isn't profit, though that's coming back stronger than ever. It's this. Families together, dignity restored, trust rebuilt. Nathan raised his glass. To all of you who had the courage to stay and fight for something better, and especially to Elena, who taught us CEO what leadership really means. Later, as guests departed, Nathan found Elena sitting alone in the same booth where he'd first heard those fateful words. He slid into the seat across from her. Penny for your thoughts? Elena looked around the empty restaurant, no longer a place of dread, but of possibility. I was just remembering how trapped I felt, how hopeless. She met his eyes, and wondering how many other places like this still exist, how many people are still caught in similar traps. Nathan nodded thoughtfully. That's why the Harvest Table Foundation launches next month, using our story to advocate for industry-wide reforms. And guess who's leading it? Elena's eyes widened. Me? If you want it. Your choice. Absolutely no pressure. But you have a gift, Elena. You see systems others miss and have the courage to challenge them. Elena gazed around once more at the restaurant, now a symbol of redemption rather than exploitation. From trap to launching pad, she said softly. Yes, I'll do it. From his quiet corner booth, Nathan Rhodes watched his restaurant hum with authentic joy and purpose. The vision he'd always intended, finally realized. The journey had been painful, the cost steep. But as he observed Elena already sketching ideas for the foundation, he knew some traps, once broken, could become the very foundations for freedom.